And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey's a late show. I'm your host, Carrie. With me tonight is my partner from Impossible. He's the creator of Crypto Reality on YouTube. You can also find him on Patreon. Mark Zasky. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good tonight, man. How are you, Carrie?
I'm pretty good. I'm at home, as everyone can see. And you see my new sign? Yeah, I went to Florida, and I got to meet up with Richard Farabee and Mike Pelez and our good friend Jimmy Barr. He's good as gold, and he had that made. It's like an actual, engineering grade city sign. It was reflective and everything, and he had that sign made. Let me move. It's the classic, Bigfoot wonking sideways that everybody uses.
I got that on my amp.
Yeah, well, my boss gave me a sticker that with the same thing, but he's got a surfboard.
Oh,
he got it in Florida, actually. It says beach bound or whatever.
Yeah, I have the one that he has like a giant taco and he's running off with a taco. It's on a shirt.
Yeah, well, anyway, he's used a lot, but big thanks to Jimmy for that. He just handed it to me. Actually, we were going down the highway. We had just come back from going into to our area there, Area 4. And he pulls up beside us, and I'm in the passenger seat, and he just hands this sign right out the window.
Like, yeah, we just came back from scorched earth.
Yeah. No, that was day 2 at Area 4 that we were.
Oh, that's right. There. That's right. I forgot.
Yeah,
and we were in a different county.
He pulls up beside us there and just hands it to me through the window. Like, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'm at home. Linda knows I have a Diet Dr. Pepper, so it's okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Mark and I, we didn't have a guest for tonight, but I think we can we'll be able to take enough questions through the night especially about what happened to us a couple of weeks ago out in that area at night, the 2 live shows. But we've been talking a lot about getting this new equipment for months, actually, and what we needed and the long range lens. And, it's been a piece of just about every show that I've been in. Well, I ordered that stuff today. It's on its way in. Mark and I both together spent about $18,000 on equipment today. So we can start doing this new series for you guys. And, it's for me anyway. It's going to be, I think, a little therapeutic, probably getting out and actually looking for these creatures and filming it and making shows about it. But it's, man, I don't know what am I looking for here, Mark?
I don't know, because when you said the word therapeutic, I was thinking, okay, well, why don't we just talk about how you felt, man, the other night? You know what I mean? Because you
could not have paid me to go in those bushes.
I know exactly. I know the feeling. You know what I mean? But outside of the now, which was, then obviously that's how you felt. But when you left, did you have, the opportunity to go over all of what happened? Because I developed an entire research campaign and experience based off of what we experienced. Just a couple of experiments,
Well, look, I've had this one particular feeling that I can remember 3 times in my life. The first time I remember having it is when the second plane hit during 9/11. I remember having it then. When I saw a Sasquatch face to face, I remember having that feeling a lot then. And when I was minutes away from being blown up at work one time.
Same feeling.
Same feeling. It's the Same. It's just a washed over. I've gotten it many times since then, but not to that degree.
Did you feel like the sinking thing? Because that's what I was getting.
Well, that's what it is. It's a true sinking feeling.
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa, this is it. These are probably my last moments, or could have been, or, even when it's close. Yeah. But for me, it was that. It was, couldn't have imagined anything so bad. It's when that feeling hits, and I still get that, but not to that degree. I could be driving down the road and look over into the woods and just get it. It just happens. I can't. There's no way I can control it. And call it what you want. Call it fear. You know, I'm just a big old chicken, I guess. But
I don't feel like that, and especially after reviewing the footage, right? So, what do human beings do, man, when gigantic, hairy things are around them like this? I mean, this is what we're doing. We're going through it, right? But I've identified stuff on the film that justifies everything we were feeling, hearing, sensing. You know, I mean, especially the hearing thing. The hearing sense. The visual sense being snatched for the most part, right? Unless you look into a real bright light, which, by the way, blinds you for at least 10 seconds. I have like a black square on my eye for a minute after I look away. But for 10 seconds, you're legitimately blinded, right? So when I walk over there and I'm looking and I start catching thermal signatures while this thing's screaming, running away, and I'm hearing things within 10 feet of me that I had looked over. And like, you know, I'm jumping off, you know, I was like jumping and running. So I felt that. I felt all that. And looking at the film, you know, I don't get that for nothing. I don't. Right. I've had enough experience with this where, you know, you just really, I mean, it was exciting for us, you know, and all that stuff, but it takes moments like what we were going through for me to feel like, you know, I'm doing my job. You know what I mean? So,
well, I'm probably going to need a few of those because eventually we're going to have to just get to a point where we say, hey, you know what? We have to go in here.
Yeah.
You know, if it's going to happen, that's what's going to happen. Some sacrifice is going to have to be made. You know, no sacrifice, no victory.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think now further justifies that again, right? Like in the beginning, I had no idea what was going on. And I was going in that spot, you know, and all this stuff was going on. And we were unable to record it to the degree that we needed to because of, you know, what was going on with our tech. That's not an issue now. Walking over the hill is, you know, I mean, we've got some really, really decent long distance equipment, but more importantly, we have also some really, really excellent up close equipment. Yeah. And this up close equipment is what, you know, when we're going in there, being able to use that high quality audio with the high quality image so that people can hear what's going on around us. That hearing what's going on. If the audience had an opportunity, Carrie, to hear the way we were hearing it, I know a lot of people heard what was going on, but the impression that was coming out of that bush was lost in the transmission. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
What Carrie's talking about and feeling is definitely the vibe, man. And it started the first time when we pulled up, and it took us a few seconds to get out of that truck, and the light was on inside. And it's pitch black, and we're like goldfish, right? And that's the way I look at it. Like we're sitting there in these windows, and it's all lit, and this guy's watching. You know, this is where he lives, man. And like you go to get out, and he waited until you got out before he started making the ape sounds where he was walking, you know, moving off. For me, knowing enough about these guys, man, they're not like intentionally letting people know like that. And I really think it was that individual the next night that did that.
It was so creepy. I mean, I get out. I'm about to hit record on the camera. That's the thing. I should have just hit record before I got out, but I didn't. So I get out and I'm about to hit record. I'm putting the night vision on. I'm getting everything ready. And I hear that it was 4 distinct. Ooh, 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 ooh. I mean, what is that? What else is that?
Yeah.
If it's not Sasquatch, no matter how big or little you think it is, what is it? Because I've been in the woods a lot in my life and I've never heard that. And there were several things, especially the second night, that I had never heard in my life.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a scream. It's not that. It's an angry, high-pitched growl.
Yeah, it's like a tantrum.
That's what it was. And it didn't happen until after my alarm went off. So we walk away, and there were people saying, well, Carrie, you got your keys in your pocket. You could have hit the button. No, we were 150 yards away.
Yeah.
I had to go half the distance just to get it to stop.
That's right. It didn't.
So I didn't turn it on. I didn't set it. Plus, I carry my keys the same way every time. It never goes on.
Yeah, no. And moving forward like that so quick after what happened on the first night. Are you kidding me? The first night was enough for most people to not go in the woods anymore. I heard distinctive ape man sounds from those bushes, and they were within 60 feet of us going, "Ugh, oh, making
It was
these
something
noises,
being out
man.
there, y'all. If
Me-
you haven't seen it, look, if you haven't seen it, you can go back. It's the Florida Swamp is the label on it, I think. Night 1, night time in Florida Swamp, or night 2, Florida Swamp. Yeah, if you haven't seen those, you can go there and check them out.
Yeah. Night 1 was one of those things where, we've been in those situations on many occasions, in research and all that, but to be live on Bigfoot Odyssey and have all that going on was like, it was just like icing on the cake, because, even like I said, and it's funny because I don't typically dedicate enough research to that particular spot and the occurrences that warrant for sure more. And I
Well, you
think
got
that's
this other
because,
place though, it's closer.
yeah, well, what happened in the beginning was that same kind of stuff it sounded exactly like the same individual was happening. And then what happened was we kept overshooting that spot. And then we were hearing him in other spots, which is telling because he was always near us. So I think this individual follows people in there because we've heard him in 3 very distinct different places in there, but it all surrounds that corner. You know what I mean? It's like the corner is where it all began because what you heard the first night is exactly what I heard the first time I heard that individual. I got out of the car and I heard and walking, very clear, dude walking off. Just like that. And I was like, what? And I went and I looked over there and the palmettos like 60 feet away, the tips were moving. And I said, something just did this, and it sounded exactly like you walking around a truck talking to me 7 years later. And when you said that, I was like, I was looking around because I thought that's Junior. Junior's behavior is this in this corner, We were calling him that for 7 years since the first time he ran off screaming, freaked out like that,
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember that video. I do.
Yeah. A lot of people were telling me, oh, that's a deer. Oh, that's a hog. Oh, that's some kind of animal. And I'm like, okay, well, some kind of animal is, doesn't sound like what we heard. What you can't pick up in a lot of these is something that researchers really have to identify before they ever even go in the field with their equipment. Equipment comes filtering out the low end of Sasquatch spectrum vocals. It's always, if you look, your trim on your low is always like within like 10 decibels of zero. And the low end of their, that low frequency is below that. So when you play back recordings like Junior's recording, it does not impress the way it should coming through the speakers because you should be feeling it too. And so if researchers, as a researcher, you go in when you get new equipment that's audio based, you readjust your trim on the low and you bring it way, way down. When you play your audio back after you record these Sasquatch vocals, you'll feel it then. You'll feel it. You'll actually get.
I recorded a voice. Our 9th episode of Bigfoot Odyssey we did in Nebraska. Right. Lynn and I went up there, rest watching. It's a pretty good episode. It's the beginning of what Bigfoot Odyssey eventually became.
Yeah.
I think as far as, the films go and the way they flow and the editing, I think maybe 8 started that, but 9 was definitely it. We had taken ourselves out. I was just like, we don't need to be in this. It needs to be about them because we would all sit at the table with them and have the camera on everybody. And I was like, well, we got to take ourselves out of this. So that was the beginning of that. And I recorded a voice there. It's around the 38-minute mark. It's after the drumming. I make a whole big, it's not big, but it's just a whole segment about it. And it's not any of us talking, but you can clearly hear. It sounds like someone yelling into a can from 30 feet away. It's kind of what it sounds like, but it's a full sentence and it's in Native American too. So, wow. Yeah. So I think, my theory on it is some people say it's an EVP and maybe it is, but I think it's them speaking to one another in a tone we can't hear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we're talking about that audio that we had from 2016 where we both had the headphones on in that one particular situation right after each other.
Right.
I very clearly heard the there's a power behind that whisper. and you can hear it, and it's like you can almost feel the whisper. It's weird. He's whispering. I know you gotta understand what I'm talking about. There's this like tone. It's real breathy that they were using. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, I've heard it before. I had heard it the night I got lost, and this was back in 2006, I think, or 05 or 06. It's deep into deer season, and I'd gone off into the backs during the rut, so it's probably early January. In South Mississippi, there's two ruts. They call it a pre-rut and a rut, but it's just this. They're both. It's just two ruts for bucks. If you don't know what a rut is, it's just when the does get in heat and the bucks chase after them. You can, that's the best time to buck hunt because they get stupid and they, it's easier to get them. Otherwise, they're really not coming out. But I had gone off down into the back of the property because I wanted to catch these bucks coming to the feeder with these does. They were coming like 30 minutes after dark. So I wanted to get a little bit closer to where I thought they were bedding up so I could catch them during the daylight, get going on their way. That was the idea anyway. Well, and I had done that several times. That was the time that the turkeys got up beside me, and I realized there were actually turkeys back in there, and I started hunting those, and that's the last day I ever hunted in my life. But anyway,
now you're here.
I diverge. I got lost. I was so sure. This is just the kind of person I was then. I was just overly confident about myself. I knew everything. You couldn't tell me anything. I was I was of the mind that death was coming to get me at any moment. For 7 years, I had put myself out into that place. That was kind of the mindset I had kept. So I got lost, and which is something I figured I could never do, but it was the perfect conditions to get lost. It was overcast, raining, and I couldn't hear traffic, and I probably missed my trail by a few feet. But
visual cues. You missed your visual cues.
Yeah, simple as that. It got dark. It got too dark for me, and I just probably missed my trail, or thought I had found a different trail, and eventually just ended up getting turned around. I don't care who you are, Bear Grylls, whoever. When it gets dark, the woods look all the same in every direction.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I tromped around through the thicket, just trying to get, stopping, listening, trying to, get my bearings, and just never could. So I said, okay, I'll just follow the lowest spot. Eventually I'll find the creek bed, and I know where that comes out. So I do that, and I finally find the bottom. It's late, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I'd been tromping around that long. So I follow it the direction it's flowing. I know what direction I'm going. At least I know how this is flowing, so I can find my way out of here. And I'll probably go for a good 20 minutes. I've got a 7mm Magnum over my shoulder, and I got one of these big mag flashlights, the D battery, 4D battery, the big black light. This is before LEDs were any good. So that's the light I've got, and it's pretty bright. It does a good job. And I guess I get probably 15, maybe 20 feet from something. And I'm in the creek bed, and they're kind of up either side of me on higher ground, and just all of a sudden commotion, bodies. I mean, just heavy. And I hear what sounds like, a breathy, breathing. Not like my first thought is hogs.
Yeah.
Now a hog will kill you and probably eat you. And I mean, they're just angry, especially the males. They'll run up on you and they'll throw you in the air and hook you while you're in the air. It's that kind of animal.
Yeah.
And the females, they'll come at you too, but it's not nearly as bad because they don't have the tusks. But what I heard was these heavy bodies, and they got up and they ran, but they didn't run off. They just ran straight behind me, 20, 30 feet, however far, not far, and stopped. I didn't hear them trail off. And I can remember hearing what sounded like, heavy footsteps hitting the ground. Still, it's just hogs. This was before I saw anything. And so the reason I remember that so vividly is because I thought they were coming back. I was like, there's hogs just ran right there. They stopped. They're about to come back. And I'm holding on to this oak tree. It's probably about this big around. I've got my flashlight in one hand around the tree, and I've got my rifle in the other hand. And I'm just panning back and forth, for at least 15 minutes, a good while. That's a long time, 15 minutes, just waiting for them to come back. And they never did. I just eased on off. But, that was just one of many things that had happened to me out there, but I distinctively remember that that breathy grunting. I'm not saying it wasn't hogs. It's just I've never seen in 7 years. I'd never seen a hog out there. Had never seen a hog track out there. Hog tracks and deer tracks, if you don't really know, they're hard to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Well, deer tracks can look like hog tracks, and back and forth. But if you're not really well versed in it, you can't tell the difference. And there was no hog tracks out there. I can tell you that. So
yeah,
was it hogs?
Yeah, it's like this same thing goes on in my mind. And, that's why we have the tools, right? So I'm looking at all of the stuff that happened on the first night. And for me, coming back when we were going down that trail, and I was like, for whatever reason, we decided to go back to the truck. And when we hit that corner, there was something coming out of those bushes. It was plain as day. It was one of those situations where
right there.
I literally spun 90 degrees, man, and was in the air again. And you were coming back with me, like where we were backpedaling, both of us. Now I'm trying to picture what that'd look like on camera, where, somebody's actually got footage of us like pedaling back, because it was startling. Whatever it was, it seemed like it, to me, it's like I didn't hear one single hog sound. No. During that incident, it was just almost like somebody was trying to spook us, like by moving the bushes at the exact time we were closest to that particular spot, because nothing else happened. And we were standing there filming it, and it's like I couldn't see anything on the
no thermal. Well, no, that was you're talking about second night.
I'm talking about the first night, which
we had no thermal.
To the bad news.
Yeah.
And the bad news is that the data shows that they're not all lit up like Christmas trees through that thermal. What I saw in the footage, and after my review of what you shot and what I shot with the thermal, was there was one or two of them that kept approaching that bank, and they didn't appear to be lit up the way that the big guy.
You're talking about the second night then?
I'm talking about, I used information from the first night's review, right? I reviewed that footage, and I was like, man, this is the exact same face as that big thing, except it's right up on us, but it right on the other side of the bank where you heard that noise. And this is I'm looking at your footage, and I'm seeing the same face through the the XA, I think that was on the trunk that was happening.
Yeah, it was XA50.
It's like, and it's just odd to me that the calling card of activity right now in that particular area is having camera trouble. And we started having that problem. So in looking at what we looked at through the XA on that first night's expedition, when I review footage and I look back, it's telling the same story as night number 2. It's just that we didn't have recordings from the thermal to confirm it.
Right.
So night 2, I'm going off what I heard, which I believe is already recorded from night 1 on one of those cameras, right? So that's what I'm making assumptions, basing night 2 and what I'm trying to record on what we learned from night 1. And we caught one on film. We caught a huge, listen, this is what we caught on film. You can make your own judgment about it, right? It's a gigantic head.
Do you have the image?
Like one of the drawings I have.
Send it to me.
Whatever it is, it's in that drawing. You know what I mean?
Send me that image. Also, if you got questions, just put them in caps so I can pick it out and we'll pin it for later.
Yeah, because I personally
got one pinned.
I looked at that footage so many times, and I'm telling you, the movement that's going on over there on that heat signature, which is, it looks just like the drawing, you know what I mean? But what's going on is interesting. And so with this new thermal, running that same experiment is going to be that's going to be definite. That has to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get this new thermal and we're sitting in there and that same kind of stuff happens. we're going to be able to show detail on the thermal images that I've never been able to see before. So
I want to show people a couple things here.
let me try to find that image, man. And I got it stored.
I've got a couple of images right here I want people to see if they can see them. I mean, you have to understand that there is some compression going on here.
Yeah, here's this.
And you know, I don't know what it's going to look like here, but if anyone wants these images, just email me or message me on Messenger, Kerry Arnold, and I'll send them to you. They're just, but I want to show these. Let me
Kerry, I'm sending you the thermal image comparison right now.
Okay.
So that you can, if you want to, post it. But you can plainly see
that people see this.
It's at your Bigfoot Odyssey email now.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get it up there. I just want people to see this
too.
This is
Bruce. That's Bruce.
That's Bruce Banner. And you can see you can see how those bushes, I don't know if you can see my cursor, probably not, but he's back in. There's some bushes in front of him. It's just like a hole there, right? And you see this. It's got depth. You can tell that is a face of something, but he really blows his cheeks out. And if you guys want the series of these images, just kind of hit me on Messenger and I'll show them to you. But
he's moving around in there. He's moving.
This is awfully human looking. It's very, very human. I mean, it's got that green face. And I wonder, we talk about diffusion a lot, Mark, but I wonder, are these things putting something on their face? Possibly.
They very well could be, I mean, I see a lot of stuff in the eyewitness catalog, including your encounter, Kerry, where they've, appeared to have mud, caked on them from laying around and all that.
Yeah.
Who knows if it's intentional? I've got images from footage of individuals that, could possibly be saving souvenirs from hogs. It appears tusks, like either it's in a hand or bone in a hand, that kind of thing. You never know, man. So I think, I look at that kind of stuff as like, we have an opportunity moving forward to, really start with some quality observation at what's going on. And I think we're going to see stuff like this. I think we would be remiss to think that a species that's been around as long as Sasquatch doesn't, and as intelligent as Sasquatch is, doesn't have some kind of, thing going on there. You know what I mean? Where they can put stuff on their faces. I mean, obviously they're so good in the environments. Why wouldn't they think that? I mean, some of these images with the raccoon black going across, it's so defined. It only raises more questions. You know what I mean? It's like, man.
I want to show people this image. I got two more I'm going to show you guys, but this one. Yeah, this one. This is one of the newer ones.
Yeah, he's one of the bigger ones over there too.
Yeah, look, you can say pareidolia all you want, but just look at the foliage around. He's back there behind the foliage, and what's that? That's an 80, 100-yard shot. It's a long way out.
Yeah,
it's a good distance.
70 yards, probably.
And that's what this new equipment is going to hopefully alleviate is getting stuff like this clearer.
Yeah, well, I mean, the other thing to remember too is the other side of the documentation is now going to be available to us because we've got the parabolic and we can record them. See, Mel and I oftentimes hear them come up. Like you and I heard the individuals.
Yeah.
Then caught them on film. This is what happens. When we were live on Bigfoot Odyssey, it wasn't just us hearing what was going on at that time. But in a sense, the higher quality equipment, the better the experience. You know what I mean? And when we're talking about, like earlier, this is big. The filtering that comes that you have to change in your audio equipment, filtering the lows out. I think we're going to end up, if we lose that filter and we're picking up all the lows, we could very well be hearing these things almost the whole time. Because the one thing you said from earlier was, that people weren't hearing it. You weren't hearing it, man, because it's in those low frequencies that's outside the range of humans. It's one explanation for why we're not hearing it. And this equipment and adjusting those trims will give us an opportunity to really listen to what's going on in there.
Yeah.
And then we can make some targeted incursions and see what happens with the thermals, or if we're in the daytime, this new equipment. I'm just thrilled about it, because when you really think about it, just discovering that the trim on the microphones is cutting out a lot of vocals. Like, why are you trimming out all the low? Let's think about this. First of all, what low? No one even knows it exists. Why are all the devices coming pre-trimmed to eliminate frequencies that the camera can very well pick up? The mics can pick all that up, but they come not picking it up. And if you don't go in and do it, you don't even know. You're getting all your audio on the low end pulled out before you even get to the house. You
Really?
get it. You know what I mean? So these little things that we're learning, man, who knows? Just that could really change a lot in this area, because I was hearing things that I couldn't explain, and it's possible that that's what it was. A bunch of low frequencies going on. And it's like, you hear these things sometimes, and you know it's like communication or something. It sounds like it's on the wind, but it's not. It sounds like a whisper, but how is it traveling that far? You know what I mean? It's like there's all these questions from this side. I honestly think it does have to do with the frequencies being too low. And because when I get home, it's like, you know, as a paranormal researcher, you got to be familiar with, you know, adjusting that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I see now, I'm just learning all this as a researcher, and going in now that we have a parabolic and serious equipment that we can record audio with, I'm really delving into this. And I'm like, you know, why is there so few low frequency? If you listen to even some of the higher quality stuff that people are saying is Bigfoot, there's very little low in it. And it just suddenly occurred to me. So hopefully that adds to our audio collection, you know?
Yeah. Look, yeah, we're going to give it our best shot. We're going to do everything we can to tell a good story, you know, tell people what's going on, be fully transparent, and try to catch these things on camera clear. You know,
Yeah. Did you get the email I sent you?
Like this shot. Yeah, I got it. I got it set up. It's ready. We're going to look at that after this. But this is what you're looking for, essentially. That's not the greatest image, but you know, there he is.
Where'd the one go? The other frame of that? Because I sent you one that's even clearer than that. I think that one shows the shoulder pretty good though, and the bicep and everything.
Yeah, no, this one does pretty good right here. You know, and that's way out there, y'all. That's 150 or plus yards. But how often do you get to see muscle, shoulder muscle, bicep muscle? He's back there in those bushes.
Yeah.
And I think if you look just to the right of his bicep, you know, at the tip of those palm fronds on the bottom there that are in white, you can see his knuckles from his left hand. Like he's got his left hand up under his left hand up under his right pectoral muscle. Like which is kind of what you would do if you were leaning into a bush, you know?
Yeah.
You're covering up the tender parts to keep the bushes from, you know, and he's pressing into this bush, you know, that's the behavior of something hiding and watching you from a long way off.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, I can see the part in his hair. I mean, come on.
Yeah, man.
This is the one that I call LeBron James. I've showed this before on here several times, and you know, it's hard to deny what that is. You know, pareidolia, come on now. Yeah. Pareidolia is going to put that together. You know, I can see a face, you know, in some bushes that looks like the rest of the bushes, but this doesn't. This is that Aboriginal style. You know, it's the same thing we keep getting over and over and over. Mark, you and Melanie have been getting it for 7 years now. Yeah. You know, that's what we're talking about. And, you know, can you imagine just walking through the woods, you're on a trail and something like that? And that doesn't look that ominous to me. There are some out there that are just scary. But just to see this and know, because he's got that pragmatic, you know, that long upper lip, that, you know, that wide nose, that gray skin. And you can see this thing is tucked up into this, he's tucked up into the, I forgot how I put this up there. Yeah, up into and those are at 5 feet. Those saw palmettos are at 5 feet. So you're talking about at least a 7 foot, you know, guy. And I think, and maybe he's young and skinny, and he just looks, you hear about the basketball player all the time.
Well, he definitely is waiting on another throw. I mean, that's it, right? So that's funny, because the most important aspect of this doesn't get really talked about, and that's the experience that led to getting the shot. And that's what's going on. And that's what's so valuable about that live, because we're telling you, this is what we're hearing. And maybe you're not hearing it, but the footage at the end confirms it, right? So we're hearing all this stuff. You said you heard monkey sounds, ape sounds, that kind of thing, primate sounds. And that's what that is. The only thing that makes primate sounds in wilderness is a primate, and you need to be in another country to hear it. Let's all try to remember that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Now, I've got the thermal here. I'm going to put that up here in just a second. There were a few questions that are things that were all in caps anyway that I'm just going through and hitting real quick. And we'll get to those shortly.
Yeah.
For those of you that are here, we appreciate you very much. All right. Screen share. It's going to be the last one.
Just the therm.
Yep.
Drawing.
Yep. There it is right there. Boom.
Yeah.
It's
it's nuts.
Well, people have to understand that that's leaning out sideways, and it's so hard to see on here.
I can see it perfectly. I mean,
because you've seen it several times. You know, it's going to be hard.
Signature though.
It's going to be hard on here. Plus, people are watching on their phone, their computer. It's just one more compression that they're going to have to view this through.
I got you.
So I'll just go ahead and say now, but that is a heat signature in the woods. There's no doubt about that. You can see that tree on the right there. And then this guy who's actually leaning out from the bushes there, kind of at an angle.
No, it kind of freaks me out that thing is still around there. And because who he was with was really big. So I was just like really glad looking at the footage that we didn't go in, that we chose, you know, like get the equipment first and let's really listen.
Well, you know, like I said, you know, we're eventually going to have to go in. And look, I apologize. I know you probably are not going to see what the drawing looks like through this, because just looking at on StreamYard, like I said, you guys can message me and I'll send you all these images. But all right, we're back.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it when we walk over the hill and there's a 75-pound heat signature. It's a head.
John sends $10, says undeniable.
Yeah, man.
Well, no, it isn't undeniable, John. And you know, that's the shame of all this, is we can't get anything good enough to convince most of the world that these creatures are out there. So that's what we're trying to do. And Mark and I talked about this earlier. At this point, it would be wrong not to try, to have the means, the opportunity, and what we think we have the ability to do it. And it would just be wrong not to do it. I don't want to look back 20 years from now and say, you know, we should have gone after him, Mark. You know, we really should have tried this. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So I want to give it our best. And I'll tell everybody right now, I'm really, really considering not going back to the oil field. I'm really, really contemplating that.
Huge deal, man.
Yeah. Well, it's my career.
Yeah.
And you know, some things have happened, you know, an accident, you know, and because things happen, I had a good friend of mine working off shift for me at least a year and a half ago, got killed. And it's a dangerous job. And, you know, when it hits close, in a sense, it's just, I want to do something else. So I think I'm going to put 100% into Bigfoot Odyssey and Impossible and see what happens. You know, it's not like I can't go back. So I just let everybody know that, you know, things are about to really ramp up here, and we're going to be putting out a lot of stuff. We've got a lot of places to go, and we're going to be putting some stuff together and really putting it out.
Get your Pepto-Bismol. Get your Pepto-Bismol, man.
Well, hopefully, you know, we know where they are. We know, you know, about the areas that they go, but it's just a matter of getting together, getting out there with the equipment to capture them on camera. And this is Miss Kim. Thank you so much for that, Kim.
Thank you.
Real quick, I want to let everybody know about Kiamichi Bigfoot. It's a book written by David Wilbanks, really good friend of ours. I ordered this one. He's sending me one. This is Miss Francine. I told you I'd send you one. This is the book. So I got your address today, and I'm going to be sending that out to you. But David's actually sending me an autograph copy because I'm special. Just kidding, Miss Fran. But it's a good book. Kamichi Bigfoot. You can find it. Look in the link on the last video. You can find it, or I'll put a link after this in the description for you guys, or you can look it up on Amazon or wherever books are sold. I think you can find it. Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, it is a big decision, but you know what? This last incident was close. It really was. It's a miracle nobody died. A facility pretty much exploded. And I just left. I had 30 minutes. And, there were guys that were there that missed dying by seconds, 30 seconds. So, mine isn't quite as bad, but, and it's not like I didn't know these things could happen. We know we deal with, a very volatile product, oil, especially in West Texas, sweet oil. When it comes out of the ground, it's like jet fuel. I float oil that's clear as water. And that's what it looks like, is lighter fluid, pretty much. It's 600 octane stuff. Wow. So, and that's what we make gas oil, which they make diesel out of. Then there's lean gas oil, which is gasoline. Is what they make out of the stuff we pull out of the ground. So
highly combustible.
Yeah, it is. And there were a lot of failures that happened, along the way. I don't want to, stick on this too much. It's got nothing to do with Bigfoot, but it has a lot to do with me and how I feel about being out there still, and a lot of praying about it. And I think I just want to put everything I've got into finding this creature and pushing awareness. And at least I can look back later and say I gave it my shot. So I'm going to do that.
And that's going to be awesome. I can tell you firsthand, man, when you can go full time on it, the data starts flowing, and looking at our areas, man, everything's in place, and we've got people ready who need investigations on their property. So I think everything's starting to fall into place right now, man. And, I think while it's unfortunate what's going on, with your career, sometimes, things are put there for a reason, you never know. Maybe this is one of those turns that, is just a part of your story at the end, I look at it like that, and I feel like going into the impossible thing, doing investigations on, homeowners' properties and looking into situations that could possibly be, nefarious activity where they're harming people's houses or even trying to harm them. This is necessary. People can say whatever they want.
It is.
But in the end, it's happening, and like everybody's ignoring it. And these people, no one.
It's what we started out doing. We started out making documentaries about these people that were having experiences around their house, or researchers that were, in a particular area. And we made documentaries about that. But what was missing was an investigation, which kind of makes it like finding Bigfoot in a sense, except, those guys couldn't find sand if they fell off a camel. So
yeah.
My dad used to say, he couldn't find his butt with both hands. Right.
That's right.
Miss Fran says, sounds like exciting new adventures coming your way. Sorry that happened. Do what you need to do. Yeah, absolutely. And the excitement, I think, is for you guys. I'm excited for you all for what we're going to be able to put out. I think we're going to try our best to make it different. Something you haven't really seen. And, that's kind of been, our MO from the beginning, is not doing what anybody else has done, but to, get out there and put something together that's, palatable first. People are going to be able to latch onto, be emotionally involved in, whether they're rooting for you or rooting against you. It doesn't matter to me. Either way, you're emotionally, connected to it. And that's what we're going to try to do. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, two of us on stuff like that happened with the equipment we have now. Once we start responding with the equipment to situations like what we went through live 2 weeks ago, it's going to be really interesting to see what comes out in the back end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mark, we've got some questions here. We're going to use this for the last quarter of the show.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
So here we go with Miss Tracy Stanley says, I find it funny you had people, headlights, and ATVs both nights. The second night more than the first one, right?
Yeah, second night. The second night there was something going on actively behind us on the ranch. The ranch had activity, and at one point, one of the that guy on the enduro bike came out of the ranch.
That was a four-wheeler.
Down the levee.
That was a four-wheeler, man.
Was it a four-wheeler? I
Yeah.
was thinking it was an enduro. Okay.
No, because he stopped, and it was a four-wheeler.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at it, and it's like, what is this guy doing? In 7 years, we've never seen that happen. And then with you hearing the distressed cows, and there was cows in distress for sure.
Yeah.
Well, when we finally heard that there was what sounded like was off in the prairie behind us towards the ranch, not where our activity was going on in front of us, but towards that ranch, it sounded like there was a cow on the ground mooing, like it was something bad was going on.
Yeah. Maybe a birthing cow, possibly.
It definitely.
But I don't think so. That was different. Yeah, it did sound like it was in distress, but I mean, there's no way to know what was really going on. That guy was riding up and down that road, that trail, whatever it was, for something.
Well, here's the thing. He disappeared. He rode down, and what are you doing when you stop in the dark? I guarantee you, he was eyeglassing out some stuff. You know what I mean? And why would you be riding around? So when he sat still and then rode back past us immediately after that,
yeah,
what was strange to me was the appearance of the lights that were out by where that cow was in that prairie behind us, but the motorcycle never drove to it. So I think what happened was he parked it, or the four-wheeler, he parked it and walked in there because there was somebody with a light out by that cow that was moving in that pasture.
Right.
Everything was going on in front of us. And it was like, it's important to note that, those situations were happening as all this was going on. And that in and of itself is, kind of, telling that these creatures are so used to like people being in there that they're just, off the chain, and they're just still messing with us, even though there's people actively riding around and doing all this.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, for me, I look at that and it's like, okay, they've been doing that for a long time in this area. We're not the only ones. The whole 168 crew went through all kinds of stuff.
Right.
They don't mind telling you need to get out of here. You know what I mean? And
we had some interference. We had some kind of electrical interference that night. I lost an entire 198-minute battery in a matter of seconds. It just went down to 16. I was like, oh, what the heck? So when I took it out, put the other one back, I didn't hit record. And that's when the screaming started happening.
Yeah, well, I think when looking at the footage, that's when they were close. When you were having battery troubles, that's when they were up on the bank watching us. We were both back behind the truck. Yeah. And the screaming and all that stuff started immediately. You were changing the battery when that screaming started. You had a battery in your hand, and I looked up and went, are you hearing this? And it was like, that was when it was happening. You know what I mean? So when you set the camera down, it was like trauma was going on. You know what I mean? We're sitting in the pitch black and there's some kind of creature screaming like that. It was nuts, man. When I disappeared for a minute, I walked down and went in the dark to try to get out of the light to see if it would help the thermal pick up a signature in the prairie. Because sometimes if you get outside that glow of the truck, then you can really, the thermal really starts working really good. So I rebombed it real quick and reset the screen, and I started shooting, and that's when we caught him on film. So here's this thing running off, and I'm in the audio saying, there he goes again. So it wasn't the first time that he ran off that I recorded the big one with the thermal, but It was in that second, run when he went off again, like 300 yards away or 400 yards away.
And you kept saying that you see something, you keep getting something, but it's not still. It's like moving through. Every now and then you get a hit, in a different distance and a different place. But it wasn't, to me, we say scream. It wasn't a scream. It was an angry, like,
yeah, it was,
it
was
higher
so weird,
pitch, but not a scream. Really.
It was almost like, it was almost like I always say the same thing about that because I've heard that before. This is the third time now, and I always say that he's freaking out, man. I think this dude's
Emotionally disturbed. That was
emotionally
the words
disturbed.
you used. That
Yeah,
he was emotionally
but
disturbed.
no, I mean this thing has a pattern of doing that. So I'm like looking at it now, and it's like, how do we upset him again? I think just showing up is enough.
Sure.
We're in there in his house at night,
And
and
we're going back. We're going
people have
back
been there
soon.
all day.
Yeah.
People been there all day, burning, shooting, riding, chopping, whatever they want. And here we come right after everybody leaves. Carrie Marco pulling in. What's up?
Late.
And he's like,
Yeah.
he's had it, man. You know what I'm saying? And to me, it's like 3 times. This guy's got a problem.
It was after the alarm, though. And I think the alarm was probably what got him, because we did find those prints. It was like 2, and I've got it on camera. I've got it on film. I filmed it because there was dew the next morning, and it was so greasy and oily that the dew didn't stick to it. So
That's
you could
right.
see them. You could see
We
them
were in
really
my
clearly.
front yard looking at it.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
The dew on it, and you could see very clearly somebody had their hands on it, and the rest of the truck was pristine. And I mean the rest of the truck. Yeah.
I
So
washed it and waxed it before that trip. So yeah, it was good.
That's right. That's a trip, man.
Here's another one from Dorian Morgan. Wants to know how big you figure those heads are. I remember Mark distinctively saying 40-pound head. Those words, 40-pound head, several times.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking, I mean, not an exaggeration either. Huge.
Yeah, no.
These things are huge. Some of them are very huge. Like more than a cow big.
The pine trees are the tell. And what we can do is when we go back, I'll walk over to the exact pine tree he was sticking his head out of, and we'll measure across it, and then we'll have an idea of how big that individual's head is. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. The next time we're in there, we're gonna measure the pine tree that he was hiding behind. But I can tell you right off the bat, they're between 28 and 32 inches in diameter, most of them. I've measured quite a few of these trees in the exact spots because we have a tendency to catch them in the same area. So if you measure the trees, you start getting a real good idea of what's going on. And I can guarantee you, when we walk in there, even Kerry at his height is going to probably be very small compared to what you saw there.
Oh, look, no, I feel tiny every time I go in. I'm gonna show you guys another picture of a big one, a very large individual. And this, I'm going to send both of these just so people have an idea of where to look. And I'll finish up.
While you're doing that, here's another question. So we're back to monkeys. We just use those terms like I use that term loosely, man. You know what I mean? Like what it is like I don't have an opinion about it outside of the hooded nose and the stuff and like really the study. You know, I mean, I look at a lot of what the study said to what they are, and they're human hybrids. You know, we use those terms. You know, everybody's like up in arms about that, but and it's interesting because when you research, like I started out hardcore with that. It's human, and I fight people over it and all this. But the further and the longer you research, the more you see that they have quite a few out here they look like giant, upright walking, non-human primates.
Right.
They look like huge monkeys. And so, you know, we throw the term around, but it's not something to take personal. It's just, you know, casual conversation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to show everybody this. This is what you're looking for. Okay. You can see it's just a face poking through the bush. There's trees in front of it. You know, those are full grown pine trees, but they're in the foreground. You know, it looks like he's right behind these trees, but that's not the case. That's what I thought it was until I went to that place and I could see that's just, those trees are probably 20 feet apart. They're just in line with each other. So they're big pine trees, but that's what that's what you're looking for right there. And this, I got to go to screen share. Come on.
It's a heck of a process.
Yeah, it is. It sucks. Show you the actual image, which is this. That's it. And you can see that nose. You can see the eyes. You can see the whites in the eyes. You can see just the corner of the mouth a little bit where he's poking his face in the bush. That's a big one.
It's huge.
That's a hoss.
Kerry, you were standing right there with me and couldn't believe it. I could see it in your face, man. You're like, those 3 trees. You kept saying those 3 trees. And then what it was we were off on the angle. You remember?
Right. Because I thought it was 3 trees together, but it isn't. It's 3 trees 20 feet apart from one another, just in a line. You're looking at, a 2-dimensional screen. They look like they're right together, but they're not. And he's back in the tree line. And I'm telling you, that's nose is 4 inches wide, easily.
Yeah,
those eyes, center to center, are about 4 inches.
So on this particular day, the documentation was off of an experience. I was clapping as an experiment, and I got a Barry Bonds wood knock, man, on camera. And so where it came from, instead of drawing a lot of attention to it, I just backed up to my truck because it was by my truck, the sound, And when I was getting ready to leave, after nothing happened again, as soon as I started to turn around to go to the truck, like it was almost like it was watching me, I heard all this walking, back in that area. So I stopped, set the tripod down, spun the camera around and shot behind me. And that's what I caught. So there was the knock, then the walking, and then that's what shows up on film behind me in the area. The noise was happening. So we have like this kind of like corroborating experience going on. And it's going to be interesting now because you'll be able to film that. Having somebody there that's going to film that is going to be huge during the impossible thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, having the equipment to reach out there into those dark places, a lot of those dark places that the camera don't see, what we have now, we'll reach into those.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that, these next faces you see, you're going to see like ours with the lines. And, if you look at, like NFL football on the sidelines, you see these cameras with these lenses this long. That's what we got. So you can get clear faces 100 yards away. I mean, that's what that's for. Yeah. Here's one from Miss Diane Fowler. Says, in that area, do you hear a lot of voices or conversations, sounds? We've heard them before.
Yeah.
Mark, I'm sure you've heard quite a few.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I heard them once in there. Second time I ever heard anything like that. And it was equatable.
It's like a zoo when you go in there sometimes and there's fog because you can't see the cow pasture and you can't see 50 feet, past where you're at. And you hear everything that's in that area, including them. And in the mornings when the cows erupt, usually it's because of a scream. You can hear these guys off in the distance and you're like, that sounds like a giant guy screaming. And then boom, the cows erupt. Then you'll hear a group of coyotes within a half mile of where that dude screamed from, and they're setting off. And then there's a guy closer screaming. I mean, this place is insane, So when we go there to do audio recordings at very specific times, it's going to be based off of our data. But we're going to record things there, man, that people are going to go, I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is. And it's consistent for 7 years. Why would it stop now?
It's coming. We ordered the equipment today. It's coming. All right. This is Tracy again. It says, do you think it's possible that Sasquatch emit high energy, hence why the electronics fail? I don't think it's Sasquatch. I think it's FWC or someone like that. Maybe it's some 3-letter agency. I don't know for sure, but yeah, I don't think it's them.
Yeah,
I think it's something else.
I agree with you on that. It's been all the experiments that we've conducted to eliminate the Sasquatch from it, eliminate the Sasquatch from the equation. We still have the phenomenon leaving the area in the truck in, chaotic, weird, arbitrary places. And there's no Sasquatch that can be around you. But at the same time, it also, started happening essentially when these really big giant creatures were coming near us. And we've had situations over 7 years where we've been working alongside these creatures and it's obvious because we're having the stimulation, there's stuff in the bushes, it's moving around. So if we go over there, we should catch the hog on film, right? But we don't, we catch what we're catching. And so, you look at that and it's like, why weren't our cameras doing anything? For all this time, we've been showing people what's going on. And then suddenly we get around and start filming creatures that are so big, they're way outside the range of what we even thought was possible here. And now we're having this. And it's
Right.
interesting because right around the time that the big creatures showed up was when we saw the craft for the first time. The very first time that we encountered a technology in the field that we were unaware it was there. We could only see it through the military technology. We had eyewitnesses that were with us and experiencing it and seeing it too. So we had confirmation between Scott and I that we were both indeed seeing the same technology. It was flying into the researcher area, and then it literally took off and flew to an area towards the area that basically a week later, Scott showed me a company that owns patents for this device, has a facility in the direction that the devices flew into. So like we have all this like corroboration going on.
Oh my.
And I'm saying to myself, if I had a limited budget and I needed to keep things quiet, would I waste time putting trackers or devices tracking creatures that are of no threat to people that really have been around people and they're stationed up on the trail and don't do anything but throw little pebbles or pine cones? Or would I take the money and put it where it was valued the most and track the largest creatures in the area that we know are moving about and omnivorously and at times engaging in carnivorous behavior close to development? Because that's what we're doing. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're asking a lot in this area of those suggestions, but the data corroborates it, Kerry.
No, of course it does. Anyone, looking at this objectively will be able to see that. Look, man, I can't pass this up. I got to show this. Do you see this?
What?
Look on the screen. Man. Just look on the screen. Do you see that?
Wow. Thanks for the contribution.
Happy to hear about your upcoming journeys. Jax. Wow.
Yeah.
If you can't see that, that's $500. YouTube is going to take theirs off of that. Of course, it's not a lot. It's like 10%, but still wow. That's the biggest I've ever seen anywhere.
Yeah. That's huge.
Wow. 500. Whoa. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say, but you have a lot of disposable income. Thank you, Jax. Incredible. Absolutely. Wow. Wow, Mark. $500.
That's gonna help.
And hey, look, we got 20 from Victor Jackson.
All you people.
I did. Yeah. That was.
I can't believe it, man.
That's a showstopper. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, you got
$500.
I've never seen that. I've been doing shows for 15 years. So.
Yeah. And we're past our hour. Thank you for that, Jax. That's going to go a long way. Diesel I have a diesel vehicle, so it's very expensive, and we appreciate you very much. So much. Wow. It's enough that we got someone to believe in us enough to help us buy some very expensive equipment, but to see this it's very encouraging.
It is.
It is. It is. And we're gonna do our best to change just the environment, the whole culture, the infighting. And there are people after us, and
I can't understand that, man.
Look, man, I struggled really hard. I put this thing up in the Bigfoot group, and it's from a guy, Brian Sullivan. He calls himself the Duke for whatever reason. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But what he wrote I thought it was pretty hilarious. But it's about us. And I normally don't respond to things like this because if you just become a response to what everyone else says about you, then they define who you are. But I put this up and I struggled with it. I talked to Wes Germer about it because Wes knows Duke really good. And so this is what he wrote. So I'm sorry. This is World Bigfoot Radio. And I normally, you guys know that we normally don't do this, but I want to read this. It says, due to ongoing interference from a loser, me, who can't beat my channel on a level playing field and moves his show to my time slot every Sunday, Kerry, all in caps. My show will be on tonight at 8 Central. Tom Cardos of North Central Cryptid and Paranormal Project will join us here on World Bigfoot Radio for the first time And I'm excited for that, dude. Good job. Expect the cowardly worm. That's me. That's us. Who happens to interfere to be the subject of close scrutiny on an upcoming episode of Conspiracy Corner as well. We have been gathering information on all the things this fraud, that's me, has been up to for about 4 years now. You will be appalled and disgusted when you find out. I'm anxious to see what he's got myself. Well, look, I'm opening an invitation to you, Duke. You know, I want you. We'll see. You think I'm a coward, so let's see if you're one. Come on the show and talk to me about what your issues are, because this is, you know, this high school stuff has got to stop. You know, let's come together and work together. What is the big deal here? What is it that you think of moving our Daniela does the Sunday show first. I just show up every now and then. And it's been at the same time since we started it over a year and a half ago. So it's hard to understand what he means by we keep moving our time slots on Sunday. And, you know, it's YouTube. No one has their own time slot. So, you know, I don't think Duke is, and maybe he's not, but I don't know. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's just got some misconception or perception about what it is we do here. And so I'm inviting you on here, Brian. Just come and talk to us, and we'll see. Maybe look, it'll probably be a good show, and you can talk about what your issues are with us, and we'll see. So there's that. Anyway. I didn't know YouTube had time slots. I really didn't. This is the guy that calls me the Pied Piper, which, you know, it's more of a referendum on you guys than it is us. If I'm the Pied Piper, that means you're a bunch of rats and you're just following along to our tune. So that's apparently how this guy sees people in the Bigfoot subject. But, you know, this is what's wrong with the subject, is there's so much wondering, you know, what other people are doing instead of doing something for you guys, for those that tune in and watch what everyone else is coming up with, and forming and developing your own ideas, because that's all we have. We don't have anything good enough to pin down about these creatures for people to say, yeah, this is what they do, this is what they don't do. You know, no one really has that. And if you do have that, I'd love to have you on the show to talk about how you got it. Yet to have one here that can tell me those things. You know, aside from sitting here railing against the Bigfoot community and you know, a lot of the people that are in it, there are just a lot of things that come out, a lot of quote unquote facts about these creatures. You know, some people see these creatures like me and you see squirrels. And I don't understand that either. You know, I have a lot of questions about some of these things. So, Duke, you're invited. Hit me up. I tell you what, you can text me. Anybody can text me at 601-215-0581. That's the Bigfoot phone number. You can text me there. And Duke, if you're up to it, come on the show and we'll talk about it. Otherwise, I'll be looking forward to seeing what you got that's so appalling about what we do.
I don't know, man. I think you've been working pretty hard for the last 4 years. You know?
Yeah, look, he's got to know this is hard work.
Yeah,
stuff's not easy. I mean, we sit down here and go live every couple nights a week and try to give you guys some kind of content from the Bigfoot, you know, community. But, you know, outside of getting an eyewitness or, you know, someone to talk about their own ideas, it's just Mark and I or whoever sitting here talking to you guys and trying to come up with something that we've experienced and to go through and provide a place for people to come and have a little bit of camaraderie. That's really all it's about. There's 401 people here right now, 404 now.
nice.
So there's that. You know, like I said, we normally don't respond to anything like this, but it seemed like a big deal what he was saying. So let's see. Come see us, dude.
Aaron has a good question too.
Put it up.
Aaron has a question, and I had already said this, so it's kind of a quick one. But yes, we can take you right back to where that was, because the thermal was filmed 500 yards.
That's the thermal.
I had my thermal encounter. It's the
That's the
same
thermal one.
exact chunk of woods. My thermal encounter, and where we shot the live, Kerry, and the thermal had the big head on the thermal. It's 500 yards from the thermal encounter Scott, Melanie, and I had with multiple individuals in 2019. So
I'm putting that up now. Give me a second.
We can show you. We'll show you the exact tree that individual was standing behind. And you know, like I said, in that area, some of the, you know, most of the trees, the pine trees rarely get more than 28 to 32 inches in diameter, which is 13 to 17 inches across.
You can't see anything on here.
Oh, it looks pretty good on this end.
Well, you know what to look for.
Well, I'm on 5,000 resolution too.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I mean, I've got the same computer you do.
Yeah.
And I can see how people could misconstrue this just because I haven't looked at it the way you have. You don't, and plus you were there. You have all the context.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I have the footage that's broke down for you for the Bigfoot Odyssey on Crypto Reality. So
yeah. And when are you going to send me that stuff?
I'm ready to send it now if you're home. I mean, I look at it and it's like, you send me the address, and I've got 10 or 12 clips now. 2 of them are from when you were here, which was awesome. You know what I mean? Because that's what we wanted to accomplish, was to go out in the field and have something. You know, it's hit or miss. You know, it happened to be a good night. There was no moon. That's real important to remember. Again, old Zasky keeps saying that. No moon, no moon. That's right. That's right. Yeah. No moon. And we had tons of activity 2 nights in a row. I'm like, we're going next time there's no moon. It's that simple, you know? So, but yes, we will show you the tree. And then there's one for you, Kerry.
Do your coworkers know that you believe in? Oh yeah, some of them do. Yeah, they know. Look, I've got probably 12 or maybe 13 Bigfoot shirts. But I've never bought one. I've had a lot of people give them to me. Linda and her brother-in-law, Cliff Barrettman, gave me a shirt.
That was your disclaimer, man.
Yeah.
You can't throw a disclaimer on a Bigfoot shirt. You got to own it.
Well, I haven't bought. I don't have to buy them. People, look. This was all given to me. All these things. This was given to me. This was given to me. This was given to me. It was all this right here. This guy, he was given to me. You know, people know what I do. You know, look, this is the coolest thing ever. Okay, and it's just strange. I went to Fort Stockton, Texas, and I stopped at McDonald's. I got something to eat. I was driving a long way. I went across the street to Stripes. I walk in, I've got this Bigfoot shirt on, and there's a lady there, and she's putting potato chips up. You know, she's obviously works for the Frito-Lay or whoever. And she looks up and she looked at my shirt, and her eyes got big, and she looked up at me and she said, oh, "You're Kerry." And I was like, "Yeah, I am actually." That's the second time that's actually happened. So it feels kind of strange when you actually reach people and they know who you are. It's you know, we're on the internet. We've you know, maybe got a couple 100,000 views on our biggest video. It's not like we should be world famous or anything. So it's kind of strange and neat at the same time to run into that. So it was a really neat experience for that to happen. And it's the second time that's actually happened.
Well, it's proof on the back end.
Yeah, I'm famous. It's
proof on the back end that stuff's working out eventually here.
yeah. Look, it's like I said, it's a good. It feels pretty good, actually. I got to admit, it really does. You're like, wow, we're really getting out there with some folks. Okay, in Fort Stockton, Texas, that's pretty cool. So, hey, look, yeah, we're well past the hour mark. Mark, appreciate you coming on, man. As always, you guys are going to get to see some whatever. I want to say it's really cool stuff, but who knows what we're going to come up with. We're going to Donnie Miller's. That's going to be the first trip. We're going up to PJ, Arkansas. They are usually in here. We're going to see them up in Arkansas, and we're going to tell their story and do an investigation there. John Day, who was just on, him and his wife have agreed to have us come down there and do an investigation there. So we got stuff coming. It's all going to be this year, just and probably not going to be too long. I think I'm done with the oil field. I think I'm through.
Wow.
So we're going to put everything we have into this.
Wow. Well, I know this much
for you guys.
You said it today on the phone, and I completely agree with you. And I was saying it when you were, I don't know if you were walked off or whatever during the show, but there's a difference between what you can do when you put a small amount of time into this and when you can put most of your professional time into it and your professional focus. When you can switch and you can focus on that just as one person, you can do incredible things. And I know that because we've done that with crypto reality. If two people with the observational skills that you and I have can put that focus together, there's no telling what we can accomplish. And I feel really strongly about this year, you know.
Well, just having the equipment, you know, we talked about this too. The average person can't afford the kind of equipment it takes to actually catch these things on camera. And I'm not saying we can. We had to have some help.
Yeah.
And you know, thank God to BRB for helping us out. He's been our producer for us for a couple of shows now, and we're so grateful to have him. Rick, you're the man.
Damn right.
He believes in us enough to help us get this equipment, and we weren't going to ask you guys for it. We've been down that road, and it's just not a good feeling on our end. I know you guys have no problem. Obviously, someone sent $500. You got no problem helping us out. Yeah. It's more on me and how I feel about the whole thing, and having someone like Rick to help us get this stuff. It really, really means a lot. So I just like I said, I prayed a lot about it, and I think this is the time. I don't want to look back in 20 years and say, you know, we really should have done this. Yeah. So we're going to do it, and it's going to all be for you guys. You're all going to get to see it. So we love you. And Mark, thanks again, everyone. Have a good night. Have a happy Easter, because we're not going to see you again. I don't think we're going to be here live on Easter. So we'll see you guys next Wednesday, research report or a Wednesday encounter. Y'all take care and be good.